Chapter Uninvited Guests.
Alexander started speaking with Siberian calm, but I could still sense the inner agitation in this young, graying Siberian soul.
When I read your book, Anastasia, I was a graduate student at Moscow University. I was fascinated by philosophy and psychology. I was studying the religions of the East, with enthusiasm. And all of a sudden, Anastasia, not at the back of Beyond, but right next to my home, in Siberia, where I was born. Such tremendous power, logic, and meaning I felt in her words. I felt something dear and significant to me. Compared with this unusual feeling rising in me, foreign teachings paled. I abandoned it all and rushed home, as if I were rushing from the dark to the light. I wanted to see Anastasia, talk to her. I came home and started going with Igorich in the launch to the spot on the bank that you described in the book. Igorich and I figured it out. From time to time, others too began to try meeting Anastasia. They would ask questions about that spot, but we didn't take anyone to it. The locals had the sense to figure it out and not encourage the pilgrims. One day, though, we, or rather I, without Igorich, took a whole group to the spot.
Why did you do that?
At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing, for the good. There were 6 of them. They seemed to be 2 prominent scientists with major resources, or those who backed them and had sent them had major resources. The other 4 were guards, armed with revolvers. They had other weapons in their arsenal too, and walkie-talkies. They asked me to be their guide, and I agreed, not for the money. First, I talked to them for a long time. They didn't try to hide the fact that the goal of their expedition was to meet Anastasia. Their leader, a handsome gray-haired man, Boris Moiseyevich, realized that Anastasia alone could do more for science than many scientific institutes. They planned to take her out of the taiga and create conditions for her to live in a nature preserve and to provide security. Boris Moiseyevich said, "If we don't do this, someone else will, and anything could happen. Anastasia is an unusual phenomenon, and we're obliged to protect and study it." Boris's assistant, Stanislav, an intelligent young man, was basically in love with Anastasia, although long distance. I agreed with their arguments. They rented a small ship from a cooperative. They brought barrels of aviation fuel to the ship in a van. When we reached the spot, they set up their tents on the high bank and radioed their location to the helicopter. The helicopter was equipped for aerial and video photography and had some other unusual equipment on it. Every day, the helicopter flew low over the taiga, photographing sector by sector. Every day, the 2 scientists examined the shots. Occasionally, they themselves rode in the helicopter to places that interested them. They were searching for Anastasia's glade, where they planned to land. I imagined the racket the helicopter would make landing in Anastasia's glade, terrifying every living thing. I thought about Anastasia's little baby, and how the roaring helicopter might frighten him too. I started suggesting to the scientists that after they determine the glade's location, they not land the helicopter there. I suggested to the scientists that after they discovered the glade from the helicopter, they make a map and go to the glade on foot. But Stanislav explained that it would be hard for Boris to make such a long journey through the taiga. Stanislav also shared my concerns about disturbing the peace of the taiga's inhabitants, but he assured me that Boris would be able to gradually reassure both Anastasia and the baby. On the 4th day, it all happened.
What happened?
When the helicopter had flown off for another video shoot, and we were doing whatever we were doing, one of the guards saw a solitary female figure approaching our camp from the direction of the taiga. He told Boris. Soon after, the entire camp was watching the approaching woman. She was wearing a light blouse and a long skirt, and her kerchief was tied so as to cover both her forehead and her neck. We stood there in a group, with Boris and Stanislav in front. The woman walked up to us. There was neither fear nor embarrassment on her face. Her unusual eyes looked gently, benignly at the people, and this gaze warmed us. She seemed to look not at everyone at once, but at each one individually. An incomprehensible excitement gripped us all, as if each had forgotten everything and was reveling, luxuriating, in the warmth that radiated from her extraordinary gaze. No one even invited her to sit down after her journey. She was the first to speak. In a calm and incredibly kind voice, she said,
"Good day to you people."
and were standing there in silence. Boris Moiseyevich was the first to speak to her. He answered for everyone.
Hello, would you please introduce yourself? Who are you?
My name is Anastasia. I have come to you with a request. Call back your helicopter, please. It is bad for these parts. You're looking for me. Here I am. I will answer the questions you have that I can answer.
Yes, of course. We were looking for you. Thank you for coming yourself. This solves so many problems.
He did not invite her to sit down either, although there was a table and folding chairs next to the tent, and he did not ask Anastasia to step aside with him. Her unexpected appearance must have unnerved him too. He immediately began talking about the purpose of our visit.
Yes, very good. You came to see us yourself, and we have actually come for you. Don't be alarmed. We'll call back the helicopter.
Boris gave instructions to the senior guard to radio the helicopter commander and bring him back to camp. The instruction was immediately carried out. Then he turned to Anastasia and began speaking with her more calmly and confidently.
Anastasia, the helicopter will come right away. You will get in it with our colleagues. You will show our colleagues the glade where you live with your son. The helicopter will land where you indicate, and you will collect your son. We will take you and him to a nature reserve outside Moscow. Everything in the preserve will be set up as you say, the way it should be. No one will disturb you there. This preserve is under continuous guard. Sure, you settle there, the guard will be increased. Only occasionally, at a time convenient for you, scientists will come to talk to you. These will be people who have sufficiently prepared. You will find interacting with them interesting, and your interpretations of certain natural and social phenomena and your philosophy will be interesting to them. If you wish, you will have a most worthy assistant. This person, who will be constantly by your side, will be able to catch your meaning quickly. Despite his youth, he is already a prominent, talented scientist. In addition, he's in love with you long distance, and I think you are worthy of each other and could be a handsome, happy couple. He is worthy of you not only because of his learnedness, but also because of his way of life. Here he is.
Boris Moiseyevich turned toward Stanislav, gestured to him, and called him forward.
Come closer, Stanislav. What's wrong with you? Introduce yourself.
Stanislav walked up, facing Anastasia, and although a little embarrassed, began to speak.
Boris Moiseyevich seems to be my matchmaker. This may seem unexpected to you, Anastasia, but I truly am prepared to propose to you. I am prepared to adopt your son and treat him like my own child. I am prepared to help you resolve many problems. I ask you to think of me as a friend.
Stanislav bowed his head to Anastasia, elegantly took her hand and kissed it. He was elegant, a fine specimen. If Anastasia had worn different clothes, they might indeed have looked like a handsome and notable couple. Anastasia replied to Stanislav gently and seriously.
Thank you for your kind attitude toward me. Thank you for your concern for me. If you indeed feel strong enough to direct your love and make the life of another person happier and fuller, then remember that among the women you know, the women around you, there may be someone dissatisfied with life, a woman unhappy over something. Turn your attention to her. Love her and make her happy.
But I want to love you, Anastasia.
I am happy with someone else. Do not waste your efforts on me. There are women who need you more.
Boris decided to help Stanislav.
This other man you have come to meet, Anastasia? Of course, you mean Vladimir. He is far from the best our society has to offer.
These kinds of assessments coming from you will not change my feelings. I cannot control my feelings.
But why did you meet with Vladimir specifically? A man far from spirituality and science, or even a normal way of life, he is just an ordinary entrepreneur. Why did you fall in love with him specifically?
At a certain point, I suddenly began to understand. Boris, Stanislav, and the entire group that had come with us had a specific goal: to collect, to snatch Anastasia by any means, and use her only in certain interest of their own, even against her will. It didn't matter whose idea it was, their own or an order from higher up. They were going to try to carry out what had been conceived. No arguments, even the weightiest, were going to stop them. Anastasia may have realized this as well. There's no doubt she could not have failed to know, to sense their intentions. Nevertheless, she continued to treat the men standing in front of her like good, dear people. She spoke sincerely and frankly with us about what was most precious, and this attitude and sincerity restrained, or rather repulsed, any violence. So fully did she parry the attempts by Boris and Stanislav to cool her attitude toward you that she rendered their arguments on this topic meaningless. They say a woman in love sees only the good in the man she loves. no matter what he's done or what he is in fact like. But her arguments were of a different sort. When my first excitement after Anastasia's appearance had passed, I was able to switch on my voice recorder very quietly. Later, I often listened to and analyzed what Anastasia had said. I remember everything, and this everything has turned my consciousness around.
What's turned your consciousness around? I wondered how Anastasia had spoke about me. Alexander continued.
After Boris Moiseyevich asked, "Why did you fall in love with him specifically?" Anastasia replied simply at first.
It's pointless to ask me that. No one in love can explain why they love the one they love. For every woman in love, only one man is the best and most important in the world, only her chosen one. And for me, my beloved is the best.
Still, even you, Anastasia, cannot fail to understand the absurdity of your choice. It may have been an accident, but it's still absurd. Your will, abilities, and analytical mind should cool your initial impulse and explain to you just how unsound this person is compared with others. Give this some thought.
My thoughts speak quite to the opposite. In this case, it is pointless to waste time on them. They merely increase the puzzling necessity of what occurred. Everything must be accepted as it is.
Accept absurdity? Paradox?
It only looks that way at first glance. You have journeyed far from Moscow. You met with difficulties reaching the spot on the bank. You asked me a question about my love. But you do not suspect that this is a paradox, that events in Moscow shed greater clarity regarding this love. You would do better giving thought to them there. You did not have to come so far.
What events occurred in Moscow?
They are simple outwardly, but only outwardly. As you say, Vladimir is a simple and in no way remarkable sinful man who abandoned everything and went to Moscow from Siberia immediately after meeting me. He went to keep his promise to me, to organize a society of entrepreneurs with the purest intentions. He no longer had any money, but he acted. In Moscow, there is a 2-story building at 14 Tolmakov Lane. People once worked there who headed up the first association of entrepreneurs. Then the association's leaders left. The association was dying. Vladimir walked into that building, and its deserted offices, big and small, began coming to life. There he wrote all kinds of letters and appealed to entrepreneurs. He worked in his office from early in the morning until late at night and stayed there to sleep. People came to see him. People turned up and began helping him. People who believed in him and what he was doing. I asked him to do this when he was at my glade in the taiga. I told Vladimir how important this was. I constructed and laid out a plan of action for him. The goals could be reached by carrying out the plan constructed by my dream in sequence. But he was supposed to write the book first, and with its help, clarify a great deal and disseminate the information. The book was supposed to find and unite entrepreneurs with pure intentions, and give him the means to carry out this plan. But Vladimir did everything the way he himself understood and considered correct. He barely thought of me. He understood the significance of what had been conceived and lived for it. Following his own path, he broke the sequence. He could not reach his goal this way, but he did not know this and acted with incredible persistence and inventiveness. Other people came to help him who believed in the idea. Slowly, shoots of a new association of entrepreneurs poked through. It was unbelievable, but he did accomplish a little. They had gathered entrepreneurs with the purest intentions. A list of their addresses exists, and you can be convinced yourself.
We've read that list. It was published in the first edition of the book, but I must disenchant you, Anastasia. Disenchant you. The list also includes enterprises like Crystal, a Moscow factory that produces alcoholic beverages. Its output is incompatible with the concept of what is spiritual.
Everything in the world is relative. Crystal may not be the worst compared to others. In addition, we are talking about intentions capable of changing everything. Today's matter is the fruit of yesterday's intention.
I cannot agree with that statement. However, your Vladimir was unable to organize an association of entrepreneurs with pure intentions. I assure you, Anastasia, you have bet on the wrong man.
By disturbing the outline of events, Vladimir could not arrive at his goal. He did not have the elementary resources or funds to disseminate information even beyond Moscow. Unfavorable circumstances took shape, and he lost his offices for continuing his work, his means of communication and lodging. He left the building, which is on Tolmakov Lane in Moscow. He left with a small group of people, the Muscovites who had been helping him. He left without any money to survive. He could not pay his assistants' wages, having no housing or even winter clothing. He had left and been left by his family. And you know what he spoke about with that small group of Muscovites as they headed for the subway down that frosty street? He discussed how to start all over. Even in that state, he was building a plan and trying to do something. He is an entrepreneur. They, the Muscovites, followed, listened, and believed him. They loved him.
What for, if I may ask?
You will have to ask them, those Muscovites, why? What they saw in him. Go to the building on Tolmakov Lane and ask the building guard why. While taking turns on their shifts, they brought food in jars and different packets of food, and each time tried to feed him supper. They tried to do this in such a way as not to insult him with their offering. These men, these guards, did not work for him, cooked all kinds of soups and borscht at home and brought them, so that he could have a little home cooking. They loved him. Why? When you go to that building, also talk to the pretty woman who worked there as a secretary, a former actress. She played the lead in Through Hardships to the Stars. She played a good alien. She played it very well, in a very good film, and called on people to protect and love the earth. Ask her why, while working for another firm in that same building, she tried to and did help Vladimir surreptitiously. She was not his secretary, but she helped him. Why did she try to bring my beloved coffee or tea for his dinner? She set up everything as if it were her firm that was supplying her with sugar, cookies, and tea. In fact, she brought all that from her home. She was not rich, she loved him. Why? While he, Vladimir, was nonetheless losing strength and dying. His physical strength was running out. But even in his pre-mortal state, he was trying to reach his goal. Yes, he's an entrepreneur. And his spirit strong.
Anastasia, you're speaking in allegories. What do you mean by he was nonetheless dying? Is this in the figurative sense?
It is in the literal sense. For a few days in Moscow, his flesh was nearly dead. Ordinarily in that state, people lie without moving. But he was walking and acting.
Perhaps thanks to you, Anastasia?
For all those 42 horrible hours, I did not cease warming him with my ray for a single second, a single instant. But this was not enough. My ray could not maintain life in a body where the spirit was weakening. But Vladimir's spirit fought. In its aspirations, his spirit did not notice death's arrival. It helped the ray. When other rays appeared to help mine, they were very, very weak and unconscious. But they were there. These were the rays of those who surrounded and loved him in Moscow. His nearly dead flesh began to fill with life. In the face of sincere love, if it is sufficient, death retreats. Man's immortality is in love, in his ability to inspire love for himself.
Dead flesh cannot walk. You're still speaking allegorically, unscientifically.
The science of human criteria is always provisional. There are truths not only for the present day.
But how then are today's scientists to be convinced? We need readings from impartial instruments.
Fine. The Kursk train station. There is a photomat in the subway there. On one of those days Vladimir took a small color photograph of himself for a permit. This photograph may still be at the building at 42 Lenin Prospect. Vladimir may have it too. Look closely and you will see all the signs of a dead body, even the discolorations of a corpse. The photomat recorded the spots on his face, but you will also see life in his eyes. The spirit of struggle.
Nonetheless, only you could save him, Anastasia. Tell us, why did you expend so much of your own efforts on him specifically? Why?
I alone was not involved in his rescue. Ask the 3 Moscow students why they rented an apartment for him with their own money. Why did they, when he finally realized the reason for his failures and began writing the book during their semester, make money wherever they could and spend their nights typing the text Vladimir wrote on their computers? Why? You can ask this question of many Muscovites who were by his side in difficult moments. The mystery solution is in them, not me. Why did Moscow and its people safeguard him, help and believe in him? It is Moscow that wrote the book too. I am enraptured by that city. I have come to love it. No growling iron machines or insane cataclysms caused by the technocratic world could ever wipe from the souls of those living in the city their sense of good and love. Many in the city are striving for what is good and light, for love. Through the growling mechanisms and the confusion, they sense its great power and grace.
But Anastasia, what you're saying truly is incredible and stunning. It couldn't have happened all by itself. This proves yet again how incredible your abilities are and the unprecedented capabilities of the ray you wield. You obviously shone it on the Muscovites in contact with Vladimir. You aren't going to deny you did that, are you? And all the miracles were created by you.
Love created the miracles. I did use my ray to cautiously touch everyone who interacted with Vladimir. But I only strengthened slightly the feelings they already had of good, love, and striving for the light. I only strengthened what was inside them. And the book was published by Moscow. The first print run was small, and the book was slim. But people bought it. It sold out quickly. Vladimir did not distort the events that occurred in the taiga. He honestly set forth the sensations he experienced there. To many readers I appeared smart and good, and Vladimir foolish and dim-witted. People in their homes read what was set forth without taking into consideration the fact that Vladimir had been with me one-on-one in the remote Siberian taiga. For him, all this was too unusual then. I do not know who else might have gone so far into the taiga without any gear, or how he would have behaved when he saw what he saw. Vladimir described the events honestly. To many he looked foolish. Here you are asking the question of why him specifically. Why do I love him so? When the book was written, Vladimir had already grasped a great deal in a different way. He grasps everything very quickly. Those who have had occasion to speak with him could not help but notice this. But Vladimir did not try to embellish his former self.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of The Dimension of Love, Book 3 of the Ringing Cedars series, Notes of the Universe.